audio perception. But really, very complicated. It's dependent upon the temperature and location of different parts, and really different regions responsible for different parts we touch, from the toes, ankles, knees, feet, also this cortex. The brain is really, really complicated. You just cannot estimate the complexity of the brain. So this is the idea from neuropsychology. Try to study psychology, psychological phenomena in terms of neurological activities. So which part, this is really what we have done many, many times before. We certainly couldn't experiment arbitrarily on a person, but we do have a lot of observation based upon accidents, brain tumor, and a lot of already a lot of amazing discoveries. And so this the part of that. The other part really is so-called more important attention and more attention to it, we call cognitive neurobiology. And this part is really important because we try to understand how the brain works. And not just how the brain works physiologically, but how the brain works cognitively. Now, so suppose you do some mental deliberation. Which part is responsible for that? How does the brain do that? That's really complicated to say. Free will. I don't know. Even today, we don't have a good neurological theory on free will. We do have some evidence, actually very controversial evidence. We'll show you later when we do the free will stuff. And very controversial because that the study shows that you really have no free will at all. The action always happens before you make the decision. You already decided to do it before you say deliberately. So that's the study, 500 milliseconds before you do it. But it's a very, very controversial, very debatable. But anyway, we'll wait until much later. But more important question is that, at least for very simple thing like perception, how does the brain represent, say, visually, the world we see, the sound we hear, or the smell we smell, or the things we taste, all this sensory modality, all this, how does the brain represent that? It's not easy. Remember, suppose, through your eyes, transmit it to the brain, and then that's it. No, that's not it. There are a lot of things going on there. It's really complicated. So when you see the thing, right, you see the table, not only you recognize the shape, the color of this thing, but also it's a table. It has a white tablecloth. It has been used by people. All these things you immediately recognize. How is that possible? If you don't know how difficult it is, imagine how you can teach a computer to do that. Even with a rudimentary step, so how can you teach a computer to recognize this is a table? And not just recognize this table, that's easy, you can store it. But recognize different tables as being a table. And some has not perfect spherical shape, circular shape. And some not even circular shape. Some are tall, some are short. So all these things for human beings, it's really easy to recognize them. Oh, it's a table. Even a 3-year-old boy, George, can do it. But the computer had, at least for a long time, before they introduced the neural networks, had a hard time to do it. It's not easy. If even with human beings, suppose you try to define what is the table. Almost all the definitions you can think about are not very satisfactory. If you try to define it precisely, say that definition will cover all tables and only the tables, it's not easy to do. Or you try to define anything, say what is a car, what is a vehicle, so what is a computer. It's not easy to do. Even what is a dog. Try to define that. It's not very easy to define because we're not thinking. We're not recognizing the kind of objects by their definitions. No. we're not sure, oh, this definition of dot. So let's say apply, whether we can apply the definition to that thing. We don't do that. We just recognize it without even mental deliberation. We just do it. So that's the thing, regarding the representation, how does the brain represent the world? And really, this interesting thing that how does the mind calculate this information and then process this information and then tell the body to respond? How does that work? This really calculation. There's really a lot of calculation going on in the brain. It's not just the camera taking the information in and putting the information out. No, there's a lot of calculation going on. One puzzling thing that puzzled many scientists and philosophers since Plato is that the visual information you take, right, is two-dimensional. Just like a camera, you took a picture, it's a two-dimensional picture. Everything, the eye is very much like a camera, right? And every camera can only give you two-dimensional information. You can print out completely on a piece of paper. But what we, the human mind, visually represent is a three-dimensional world. It does have depth in your view field. How can that happen? Some process must be responsible. Some process in the brain must be responsible for transforming that information, very limited two-dimensional information, into a much richer three-dimensional information in your perception. Remember, the amount of information you can take in is very limited. I give you a lot of examples in my other class. So for example, in the dark, you see some object. You immediately recognize whether it's a dog, a human being, or a car, or a tree. Most of the time, it's certainly not completely dark, but it's a little bit dark. But if you look at that information, if you take a picture of that, this information is really vague. It's really a very limited amount of information. Maybe just 1% of the information you can get from, say, the full picture. But somehow the mind can recognize it, can immediately know what kind of thing it is within a millisecond. Even without thinking. You don't even think or try to process it or figure out what it is. You just know what it is. So how could that, be possible? It's really all the things, something must be going on in the brain that is responsible for that. So that's what Churchland tried to introduce. And today we actually have a lot more information than that. I'm not an expert on this part, so I can just tell you what I know, what Churchland told me, wrote in the book. I actually, from the reading responses, I think somebody knows a lot more than I do. Who studied cognitive neurology, neurological sciences. This is what Churchland talked about, so-called Pidgeon cells. This so-called, you have the horizontal input, and then you have the transformation from a very big cell, which can output. This is really the output cells. Output the information to the muscle to activate the muscles. This is the big one, and the rat. You can see the cell is really big. The whole died neuron. And this part, you see, these are branches that takes in the information and got processed and then transmitted to the muscle neurons to activate muscles. And Churchland's picture is very good. It has, it really like a logical gate, taking the